Good morning everybody, this is Lara from Pure Elliott Wave with your Monday to Friday update for Bitcoin, Ethereum and XRP. First time I've committed to doing this. I couldn't get it done yesterday. I travelled from Panama to the United States on Sunday. We didn't get in till 3 a.m. I was so exhausted I just couldn't do it, but here we are now. I've had a great sleep, so let's get into it. At the weekly time frame, the last completed weekly candlestick for Bitcoin is an inside week with a very small range body and a bullish long lower wick. We need to look inside the week to make a judgment about volume. Still finding support about 35,000. At this time frame, I've got next resistance identified at 41,100. There was obviously a consolidation here and an upward breakout, and now another little small consolidation. Looks like it could be beginning. What does look really obvious from this chart is this bear market lasting 54 weeks, looks obviously over, and the next bullish run is underway. We've got a nice series of higher highs and higher lows, a new upward trend. I'm pretty skeptical about this volume data from Cryptocurrencies, but we can see that there has been a bit of an increase recently as price broke out of that consolidation. The last completed week, volume at 6.7 billion, was a little bit lighter than the previous week at 7.2. At this time frame, there's an obvious upward trend, and ADX is telling us there's an obvious upward trend, and it's quite a long way to go before it reaches extreme. RSI is overbought, but not nearly as deeply overbought as it can get, and there's no bearish divergence. This market, when you look at it at a higher time frame, has an obvious bullish bias, despite those bear markets being very deep and lasting up to a year or so. And if you note at those bullish runs, RSI will reach quite deeply overbought really early on. It can get very overbought and exhibit multiple bearish divergence at this time frame before bull runs come to an end and a bear market arrives. And money flows in neutral territory. There's a long way to go before this gets extreme. Technicals on the daily, price is now consolidating with resistance at 38,000 and support at 35,000. We need to see a breakout to have confidence in the direction of the next trend. The last completed candlestick for Bitcoin was bullish, and it has again some push from volume. So day on day, we're seeing a little bit of upward movement with push from volume, but overall, we're seeing declining volume as price is now moving sideways. At this time frame, ADX reached very extreme into danger territory for Bitcoin. At this time frame, it's now declining, telling us that at the daily time frame there's no clear trend. At the weekly time frame, remember, the trend is still up, so we're looking for a consolidation or a pullback within the larger trend. There is double bearish divergence between price and RSI after RSI reached deeply overbought, so a consolidation or a pullback to relieve these extreme conditions would be a reasonable expectation. Also, money flow reached overbought and exhibits double bearish divergence. Elliott Wave count for Ethereum, the short-term picture, I'm relabeling this structure as a double zigzag. That's how it looks like it's unfolding now. W, first zigzag in the double, is complete down here. X, a little three-wave structure, brief and shallow in the opposite direction, joins the two zigzags of the double, and now A, B, C will expect to unfold lower. If this expectation, if this target is wrong, it looks like it might be a bit low. But so far, I'll look for the logarithmic function of the 0.618 ratio for minute wave 2 at 1732.24 in another week or two. Minute 2 may not move beyond the start of 1 below 1521.78. I don't expect a new low below that point for Ethereum. I was watching one of CoinsKid's videos the other day, and I saw he'd noted this ascending triangle on Ethereum. So I want to point this out to you, and I'll give you a link to his video where he does a really good job of this. So I wanted to point this out and have a little discussion on what this means. Ascending and descending triangles are either continuation or reversal patterns. This is one of my favourites, Kirkpatrick and Dahlquist. For an ascending triangle, the characteristics of price behaviour within the triangle are erratic, lots of action up and down. You've got to be careful about the breakout point because there are lots of small breakouts, and declining volume during the triangle is common but unnecessary. Upward breakouts occur 70% of the time, so we're looking for most likely here an upward breakout. And breakouts happen roughly 61% of the distance from the base to the cradle. So let's look at that. I calculated from the base to the cradle, which is where the trend lines for the triangle cross over, which is off to the right. I calculated 61%, and it's on this candlestick here. So That's where we would expect the breakout to most likely occur. Obviously, it hasn't happened yet. It doesn't have to be perfect. I expect what this means now is the breakout is going to come sooner rather than later. As we've got an upward swing from support to resistance, I'll be looking for the breakout for this triangle for Ethereum really soon. Now, that contradicts my short-term expectation for the Elliott Wave count, which expects that second wave correction to be longer lasting. What that could be looking for is maybe the ascending triangle isn't going to work so well. Maybe we get a downward breakout before we see the end of the movement. So let's keep an eye on this ascending triangle, and we'll expect, if this is correct, we should be seeing an upward breakout really soon now. At the daily time frame, let's look at some technicals for Ethereum. Price has been consolidating for a couple of weeks with resistance about 2,400 and support just a little bit above 1880. We need to see a breakout for confidence in the direction of the next trend. Yesterday's completed upward candlestick has pushed from volume. Overall, though, volume is declining now as price moves sideways, but day on day, when we see some upward movements, we do see some push from volume. So I would read the volume profile for Ethereum still as bullish. Doesn't mean we can't get a deeper pullback here, as the Elliott Wave count expects, but the volume profile for the larger picture still bullish. RSI reached deeply overbought, so it's unsurprising we're getting some consolidation. It's now back in neutral territory. Let's see if it can get below the 50 mark though. The upward trend for Ethereum reached very extreme, not as extreme as it can get, but it did reach extreme. So given overbought extreme conditions, that supports the view from the Elliott Wave count that we're about to get a sharper pullback to relieve those extreme conditions and set up for a third wave at multiple degrees. ADX is now below 45, so it's out of extreme territory, but it's still well above both DX lines. If it can reach below both DX lines and below 15 and then turn up and have a positive slope again, that is the strongest signal ADX can give. Let's see if it can do that. It doesn't have to do that for a third wave at multiple degrees, but if it did, I'd have a lot more confidence in the bullishness of upward movement. Money flow didn't reach overbought, but it's nicely in neutral territory. So the pullback started, or a little consolidation started, but if it continues for a bit further, then it's going to set up for the next bullish run much better for Ethereum. At the daily time frame for XRP, I'm still labeling minor wave 2 an expanded flat. I don't want to relabel this WXY because if this is the first zigzag in the double and this is X has moved beyond the start of the first zigzag in the double. X waves within multiple zigzags are usually brief and shallow. So this doesn't look like a multiple zigzag. This looks like an expanded flat, and they're really common structures. But I want to have a look and see if wave C could be looking like an ending diagonal because there's starting to be quite a lot of overlap. So we could have 1, 2. Now let's see how this works. 3 is shorter than 1. 4 is shorter than 2, but will the trend lines contract? Yeah, they do just. Okay, we could be looking at a small ending contracting diagonal unfolding for C. Now, because the diagonal is contracting, I can tell you that 5 may not be longer than 3, so let's find out what the limit is. The ending diagonal, if this is correct, has to end before 0.5621, so that's before the target. So I'll stick with the target 0.5824, and I'll say that the normal range of 79 to 90% would be too low for this pullback if this structure is indeed an ending contracting diagonal. So 0.5621, the fifth wave of the diagonal has to end before that point so that it's shorter than the third wave, so that the rules regarding wavelengths for a contracting diagonal are met. And that means that the third wave is not the shortest, and that's one of the core Elliott Wave rules. Real quick technicals on the weekly chart for XRP. Last week completes a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, so let's expect more downward movement is likely to follow through from that. There's very strong support in the 54 to 55 cent range around there. So last week closed below what was support at 62. Support now returns to resistance. Upward movement had good push from volume, not as strong as previously, but really nice to see push from volume. The last completed week, a downward week, has weaker volume. The volume profile for XRP remains bullish. ADX at this time frame tells us yes, there's an upward trend, and it's such a long way to go before it reaches extreme territory. So this is a very bullish look from ADX. RSI is not overbought, it's nicely in neutral territory, as is money flow. A long way to go for XRP before this market reaches danger territory for an upward trend. At the daily daily time frame, what was support at 62 cents has been broken. Look now for support at 54.55 cents. As price falls, overall volume is declining, so the volume profile remains bullish. Strongest volume is on upward sessions. ADX reached just on extreme territory for XRP. It's now declining, telling us at the daily time frame there's no clear trend. Let's see. It looks like it's probably going to get below the 45 mark. Is it going to be able to get below both the DX lines and set itself up for a strong signal for the next bullish run? If it can do that, I'd be really happy to see that. It doesn't have to, but that would be more bullish. I'm noting this little triangle structure on balance volume, resistance and support. On balance volume is breaking below support for XRP, but the signal is very weak. This purple support line has 4 tests, but it has a strong slope and it's short held, so the signal is very weak, but it is a bearish signal. Supports the view that we're probably going to get a little bit more downward movement. ADX reached very extreme, it's now declining. RSI reached very deeply overbought, it's now below the 50 mark, so nicely in neutral territory. We're starting to set up for the next bullish run, but not quite there yet. Money flow reached deeply overbought as well. That also is in neutral territory, but above the 50 mark. Not setting up perfectly for the next bullish run, but getting there. And that's it from me with your quick update today. I hope everyone had a lovely weekend, and I'm going to be here in the United States now for, squirrels. I'm going to be in the United States for 3 months, and I'm looking out my window and there's a bunch of squirrels out there. We don't have those in New Zealand, so I think these guys are pretty interesting and quite cute. And looking forward to having some time in a country where you can get anything and do anything, and the super convenience of it is just really, really comfortable. So also looking forward to a Thanksgiving and Christmas here, and I hope you're all looking also forward to a wonderful Thanksgiving coming up real soon.